Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Welcome to the show this Monday, the 20th of November, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. I got a great show for you guys today. And there's a little bit of upbeat stuff today, rather than always down. I'll tell you what I'm going to point out is let's get right in there and take a look. The Houthis have taken a ship hostage, and they're saying they're going to do a lot more. They're saying this is just the beginning, and says until aggression against Gaza Strip stops. They're touching the money supply when they do that. Touching shipping, they're touching how these countries and these world leaders make money. And I'll tell you, nothing in the world affects them as much as making money. They they love money. The love of money. The world leaders love their money. You ever seen two cats fighting? Two male cats out in the back alley someplace. You hear a bunch of screeching going on. You wonder what it is. You run around the corner and there they are, tumbling around right at each other. Two cats, and I mean they're just biting and scratching and clawing, and the two cats. We've all seen that. Well, what if a third cat runs in? Say a third male cat runs in and all of a sudden throws a couple swipes into the fight. You know what quite often will happen at that point? It disrupts that intensity. And oftentimes it'll break up the fight. Uh, there's immense amount of pressure right now. The whole world community is divided a lot on this issue, the Palestinian issue. And consensus around the world uh, is not all complete. A lot of people right in your same neighborhood, some people are on one side of this issue and some people are on the other side of this issue. Leaders also need to have when consensus starts to turn and they get too many people against them and what they're trying to do also puts pressure on them. Immense amount of pressure is coming on this war now to come up with some sort of a peace treaty or something like that. Now, who could the peacemakers be? Well, China lately has been working at making peace arrangements in different places. They've been trying to present or push forth peace. Saudi Arabia seems like they're in working in the peace arrangements as well. A number of other countries wish for peace. You know what the Bible says? It says, "Blessed be the peacemaker." That's right in the Bible. But what we're looking at right now is there's never been a bigger chance. This could go either way, but the financial would be drawing them to have peace so that they don't have their ships attacked and seized and lose money. They don't like losing money. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here anticipating. I'm saying to myself, hey, maybe this thing will come to a conclusion suddenly. There will be some sort of a peace treaty come out of nowhere because an immense amount of pressure is building in this situation, involved in this situation. So watch for it. Uh, I'm just going to say watch for that. Uh, now, Israel, they want to, well, I shouldn't say Israel but the former prime minister, Ehud Barak, speaks of the Gaza war. He says, we have to finish it. Right now, there's a lot of intensity. And of course, yes, when people begin a war, they want to finish it. This is simply the way it is, But there's also an immense amount of pressure to get this thing over with right now. We're going to have to wait and see. Now, I told you guys about heat bulb events. It's a new thing. A lot of you probably haven't heard of it. I'll explain to you how it works. What a heat bulb event is. Like out in Arizona and stuff, it can get awful hot, like 120 degrees even, but it's dry heat. And in dry heat won't kill you so quick. It will kill you, yes, but dry heat's different than humid heat. How your body can only, you will die. If your body goes over 7 degrees over the normal temperature your body operates at, you will die. Your body operates at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If you get too cold from that, you'll die. Your body has to run at a specific temperature. And 7 degrees over that, so roughly about 106 degrees Fahrenheit, you will die if your body cannot expel that heat. And how your body expels that heat generally is what you sweat. And the sweat evaporates, and through the process of evaporation, your body expels the heat. But in a wet bulb event, there's so much moisture in the air that your body can't expel the heat. And so when the temperature starts to go up about 110 degrees, your body can't expel the heat any longer because the air has got too much moisture in it. You start to die. Even a healthy person, you start to die. And so I warned you guys about wet bulb events. Even this time of year, we're having a wet bulb event right here in Brazil. In the areas highlighted in brown, not the orange areas here, but the areas highlighted in brown. It's extremely hot. Let me see. Let's pull down and get the numbers here. 43 degrees Celsius, which is like 120 degrees, 115 degrees, something like that. It's way over 100. Let's put it this way. Anything. When you get over 40 degrees Celsius, you're over 100 degrees. But there's also high humidity with it. And because of that, people are actually dropping dead. There's a concert here, a Taylor Swift concert, and one of her fans just dropped dead, so they had to quite literally move the concert forward, I guess is what they're doing. And until it says one concert goer died on Friday after fainting in the heat wave in Rio de Janeiro. And given the tragic loss of life and ongoing brutal conditions roasting Brazil this weekend, Taylor Swift chose to postpone the performance and said in an intergraphed post on Saturday. So, there you go. They're going to have torrential downpours, though, that'll probably lower the temperature. Now, in other stories, this is great. I always liked Toyota vehicles. I remember I had a Toyota Corolla years ago, I always liked Toyotas. Toyotas are great. They're going to make this new rugged little truck, and I mean it's going to be rugged and well built. And guess what? It is electric, and it's only going to cost $10,000. Now you say to yourself, how could Toyota produce a vehicle for $10,000, brand new, $10,000, that they don't compromise on quality? And they've assured everyone that they're not compromising on quality. It's an electric truck for only $10,000. I guess coming to a dealership near you pretty soon. It's called the IMV0. Amazing. Think of what a buggy. This could make the perfect buggy for the apocalypse. Why? Well, you could put a little a camper on the back of this thing, and put solar panels all over it. Have an inverter inside it and a battery bank that the solar panels will go into, so it'd be charging all the time. And that same power would infuse into the power system of the truck. And I dare say, you wouldn't be able to drive steady on that, but you'd have to stop. Maybe you'd stop for 4 hours. You might be able to gather enough electricity to drive 25 or 30 miles. What does that mean? It means you got electricity so you can run your things like your onboard. You'd be able to run your things like your laptop and stuff like that, lights and everything else. Meanwhile, the battery's charging and charging up the rig to drive down the highway. And you just whistle by the gas stations. You'd never have to stop if you didn't drive too much. I mean, I know, if you wanted to drive thousands of miles in a day, it wouldn't work for that. But if you only want to drive like 50 miles, you could stop for 4 hours and probably gather enough power to drive quite a little ways. And then when you stop again, maybe stop for lunch or whatever, you're charging back up again. It would make a great apocalypse buggy, I'm thinking to myself, and that's why I put it on my show here. 10 grand. How do they sell? How's Toyota doing it? But I imagine if they continue with this, and it looks like they're going to, and I guess it's the base model right here, this picture. Now, see, this is a tricked out one right here with the wide tires and everything, off-road and everything, with a special cab and roof racks and everything. That's it, and it looks like it's got some sort of a winch on the front. But that's a tripped out one. But here, look at this one here. This one's probably the base model right here, this little white one. And it's that base model. It's $10,000. It's got nothing on the bed and back yet, And, it's just basically a steel frame truck but it's electric. What a great idea. I applaud Toyota and it shows right here, this one shows them rigging one out as an ambulance. And here, this one right here shows one rigging it out as some sort of a little catering truck. And isn't that little one there pretty, with the green panels and everything, the way it's painted up? Cute little truck. Man, Toyota's always been a leader in innovation. I mean, I am not being paid by Toyota. But I can say the truth if I want about what I think. Now, this article about defying authority. They did experiments. It says Stanley Milgram's experiment was conducted in 1963, before the internet and social media. And the experiments were to see how many free thinkers, I guess, out there. Psychologist Stanley Milgram found that 80% of the population do not have the psychological or moral resources to defy the authorities' order, no matter how illegitimate the order is. In other words, the governments could decide to line everybody up in a big line and have them walk off the Grand Canyon. And 80% of the population do not have the psychological or moral resources to defy that order. 20% have the critical thinking capacity to defy that order. It probably holds about true today, about that same line, But here's the thing, guys, in some sort of civil disorder or disobedience, that 20%, they become the leaders then of the disobedience against the civil authorities, if the civil authorities overstep their boundaries. And then these masses, the other 80% who just follow, oftentimes will follow along in the civil disobedience. And so that's typically what can happen, and this is how revolutions start. But you have to realize that about 20%, only 20% of the population has that critical thinking capacity to say, hey, enough. They're going to starve all of us to death, or whatever. We got to break out of this, or we're all dead anyway. Only 20% of the people have that critical thinking capacity. 80% of the people, and now it might be a little bit higher with social media. They can probably sway the masses even more so with social media, so they can probably get it up around 90%. Now, what about gold and silver, guys? The Dutch Central Bank has admitted that they are preparing for a new gold standard. If Israel and the United States sign peace treaties and pull out of this war, it's basically like they're losing the Middle East. And in factuality, it's already done. They're already losing the Middle East. They're losing it. What's going to happen from that? Well, the dollar. The dollar's not called a petrodollar for nothing. This is the only thing that really supports the dollar is oil. And so the dollar's demise is already written in stone. And so what's happening is the East, we already know, they are moving toward gold. China, Russia, they believe in gold, and they really believe in it. They love it. They believe in it. And the power follows the money. He who makes the gold makes the rules. And what's happening is these central banks are being quiet about there. The central banks of the West are being totally quiet about it, but they're accumulating gold as fast as they can now because they know that the world is shifting back toward gold and silver. And so this means that the handwriting's on the wall. Time is very limited for places like the COMEX to control the gold price worldwide. They've suppressed it for years. When this suppression ends, gold's going to be repriced. Silver's going to be repriced. Silver's going to move categorically higher than gold. And so even though you guys have been waiting and waiting and waiting, but this is a very slow-moving process. But ultimately, your dollar is going to turn to mush. And gold and silver are going to go exponentially higher than they are now. It's going to be unbelievable when these moves actually happen. And we've been waiting for it for a long time. A lot of people on my channel are gold and silver bugs. Hang in there, guys, but it's coming. And I'm going to tell you what, your neighbor could have $10 million, and maybe all you got is a little bit of silver that you've been able to, and it's maybe been hard to get because you might have had to not go out for lunch to that pizza place this week so you could buy that 1 ounce of silver and put it away. Maybe you've been doing that for a long time. And it's been very hard, and you've been watching your neighbor, and he's out there hustling, and he's all in the financial system, all in the stock market. And he's got like $10 million, but when the dollar turns, everything's going to change. His luck is going to change because he hasn't got any gold and silver. He never believed in it. You got to be a true believer, and you got to know the fundamentals behind these things. And on this channel, we know these fundamentals. I've went over and over them, especially behind silver. The U.S. Geological Survey said very clearly, and this was years ago now, that silver is the first element on a periodical table that's going to actually use the word extinction. And why it's an extinction level event is we consume it for industry, and there's it's a limited resource found in the Earth's crust, and we're ravaging the Earth for every ounce of it we can get. And ore grades are going to drop, and they're continuing to drop, and there's nothing they can do about it. Let's move on. Let's take a look at the silver. Well, did I have any other articles on here? Yeah. No. So it's time to look at the markets, guys. 23.47 for silver today. It's down 24 cents, and this is the paper manipulation game still going on. And this is why you see a price of 23.47. Beans have tripled, quadrupled in price. But bullion, it's still cheap. Cheaper than it was way back in 2000 and whatever. I mean, you know, we saw $50 a long time ago. Right now, 23.51. Can you imagine that? And let's take a look at gold. Gold is 1971. That was a good year too. A lot of great music came out in the early 70s. Taking a look at cryptocurrency today, we see Bitcoin is went back up again to 37,339. So it's jumped from 36,000 to 37,300. Ethereum's back up over 2,000 again at 2,038. XRP is 61.9 cents. You might as well say 62 cents. Dow Jones Industrial Average right now is up 80 points at 35,027. Taking a look at crude oil. Crude oil's at 77.38. It's up $1.49. Bonds and rates. We're looking at climbing yields again today. U.S. 10-year is up 2.4 basis points at 4.65. And the U.S. 30-year is up 1.7 basis points at 4.61. Now, the dollar index today is down and it's dropping. It's at 103.55 today. You have to realize about this Dixie index, the dollar index. You have to realize about it that all of these other fiat currencies is being compared against a basket of other fiat currencies. I think it's the yen, the Canadian dollar, the Swiss franc, if I remember right. The euro is the primary one. 60% of the dollar index, dollars being compared against the euro. They're all a bunch of. You ever okay? Listen, you ever been in a saloon, you know, and you see that bucket in the corner that they used to call a spittoon? You pour out that brown juice. That's the dollar, and that's these other fiat currencies as well. They're all, but the dollar's a little bit better than the other ones, but it's still that brown juice. It's just garbage, total garbage. It's it's on a Ponzi scheme. The Ponzi scheme ensures that ultimately, in the end, the dollar is going to become worthless. They can't back up from this. You know, we saw the results. The Fed tried to back up. They're in the process right now trying to back up the truck. Problem is, you can't back this truck up. It only goes forward. You back it up and you get into more big of a mess than you do moving it forward. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Listen, have a great afternoon. And you guys are special. I really appreciate you guys out there. Really helps me out when you watch my shows, when you subscribe to my channel over there at and it only costs $1. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Have a great afternoon. Bye bye.